I feel like you're pretty much a yes guy. You don't seem to say no to a lot of things. Obviously, you're the team president. You're very important. Can I do a lightning round to start this off?
Let's go for it. Let's see how it goes.
Can you get me a personalized Kelly Green jersey?
Absolutely.
Can you get me a batting practice session with the team?
We're on it.
Can you let me be Stomper for a day?
2 days. I need you for 2 days. Yes, exactly.
And when you and I go to the game later on, can we get diamond level tickets?
Yes.
Oh!
It was a pause. It was a pregnant pause, but it's going to be a yes, because I know you're going to eat a lot of the food.
That's
There's
true.
a lot of food. That's going to cost me a lot of money, but
Unlimited,
it's worth it.
Right?
Yeah, it's unlimited food. So
this has to be, right now, the opportunity of a lifetime to take control of a team that had a lot to do, and you get to have your hands all over it.
Yeah, it's a very exciting time for the organization. You know, obviously, as we pursue our new ballpark in Oakland, as we really transform kind of the direction of the club, and to see these results both on and off the field, and our fans really grateful and appreciating what we're doing, it's really a great time, and we're excited not only for now, but for the future of A's baseball.
We'll get to more of the present a little bit later on, but I want to go back to the research I did on you, which I didn't even know about this. This isn't your first time working around a presidency. You worked in the White House.
Yeah, I had a really cool internship at the Office of the President between my 2 years of business school, and I got to work on the budget for national security for George W. Bush, and so it was a great time right after 9/11, so it was kind of like a really important time in Washington. Yeah, critical, and spent a summer there. It was a sweltering summer in D.C., but a great time to give back to the country and contribute.
So politics versus sports, I imagine this is a whole lot more fun? Not easier.
Way more fast-paced.
Not easier,
it's
but
way more fast-paced. Like, government works very slowly, as I know, and so I learned that firsthand. Yes.
What did you like about that? What did you gain from that experience of working at that high of a level, you know, back then?
You know, I think I came to appreciate how you just have to make decisions, especially when you run an organization, and you have to make sure you don't get in the way and empower the people who work for you, and make sure they have the accountability, but also the direction for success. And I think that was something that I've carried with me for, you know, the last 15 years.
So how did you get from that in politics to your first baseball jobs, which by the way, were nowhere close to the major league level?
No.
Tell me about your first baseball jobs.
Well, I actually started a professional minor league called the Golden Baseball League.
Right.
I started it as a class project when I was at business school at Stanford. We wrote an entire business plan to start a baseball league. Now, who does that? That's very unusual.
I don't know, actually.
Yeah, it's very unusual. It's very unusual. Well, we did that, and people thought we were crazy, everyone but my mom. But we actually did it, and we actually started with 8 teams across Western North America, and we had our inaugural season. We opened actually in Surprise Stadium in Arizona. We had Ricky Henderson play for us in the first season. He was our star player, and it ended up being a great place to not only learn baseball, but also see the impact that baseball can have on these small communities. And it's no different than here in Oakland what I see now, and the connection folks have to their club, a real special thing.
I'm sure there were tons of positives in that experience for you. Maybe some mistakes too that you've gained from. What are the things that you learned, you know, kind of on your way up with baseball?
You know, I think the biggest thing I learned was that you just have to stay nimble, and you have to make sure that, you know, even if you make a decision that's a mistake, like we put a team in Tijuana, Mexico in the Golden League, and it didn't work out, so we had to scramble, and we ended up with an all-Japanese traveling team. And so we made lemonade with the lemons. And so I think one thing I've realized in my career is you have to do is try a lot of different things and see what works, and, you know, think about it from a promoter's mentality. And, you know, a lot of times these things don't work out. They're a failure, but you learn from that, you pick yourself up, and you're on to the next thing.
Eventually you get to Major League Soccer. A lot of people in the Bay Area still know you as a huge part of the Earthquakes. What was that experience like? Soccer in this country is still, to me, a mind-boggling thing. So many people play it, but in terms of popularity, it still has a little bit of a ways to go.
Yeah, it does, but it's made huge strides. And, you know, my time, 7 years in San Jose with the Quakes, you know, taking over a team that was playing at Buckshaw Stadium, and, you know, really kind of like interesting kind of fan experience. You think people think the Coliseum has challenges. That was a really challenging environment, but we had fun with it, and we built a fan base, and we built a great new privately financed stadium in San Jose with Avaya Stadium. And, you know, I learned so much through that experience that's been important for what I've done here with the A's about building a team, understanding what it takes on the sporting side, and making sure we actually connect with the community in all our efforts.
To go back to that Earthquakes experience, and for those that don't know, Buckshaw Stadium is the college baseball stadium for Santa Clara University.
Yeah, not even soccer, baseball. Yeah, it was like all.
And when I say stadium, I mean like stands right around the infield, and that was pretty much it. You guys built up everything else for a soccer pitch on a baseball diamond. When you started that kind of from scratch, and obviously it eventually turns into Avaya Stadium, isn't that a bit overwhelming at first when you say, how am I going to get this to that?
I mean, you can't think about it in such a big context. You almost just have to think about it one step at a time.
What were the steps then?
Well, some of the steps were some of the things people have even seen at the Coliseum, like bringing in the gourmet food trucks and being open to fans. You know, I started my office hours where I speak to people down with the earthquakes and soliciting their advice and input, celebrating the history of the earthquakes. You know, they had a great 40-year history in San Jose, one of the first teams in the NASL. The same thing that we've done here, celebrating, you know, our 9 world championships, our great players. And so a lot of the same things and the success I saw in San Jose, I've tried to port here to Oakland with its own unique flair, with something that's obviously unique to the community.
I think what's cool about you, too, is all the Bay Area connections in that you're a Stanford guy. Now, you have a couple Cal guys on your team.
It's true.
Shortstop, an outfielder, the manager.
That's right.
Is there any Cal hatred, or are you?
No, I respect the rivalry. Like I'm more, what I would say is I'm
very
more
political, right
I'm
there.
more just like USC. I would say that's kind of where I am. So like, I think Cal-Stanford rivalry is a good thing. The Axe is a good thing. It's a great kind of friendly thing in the Bay Area. And those rivalries are important for both teams and for the entire community and all the house divided kind of stuff. So I think that can be a really fun thing.
Let's get to this place. The first time I walked in here at the beginning of 2018, it was like, oh my gosh, look what you guys have built. Starting with just the entrance to the new headquarters. It's almost a museum-like atmosphere. Why was doing this important? And now that you've been here, how have you seen it be important to the A's, this headquarters?
Well, it's important in a lot of different ways. One, it plants our flag down here at Jack London Square in Oakland. It shows our commitment to the city. It shows that we're honoring our great history. It's amazing for our staff and attracting talented people to work here. The Bay Area is a super competitive landscape to find high quality people. This type of environment, almost more of a startup type environment, has been super successful to build that type of team and to have the type of success we've had. And it's really just a fun environment to work in, and people have the natural light and you have the beautiful views. And when people come through and I give them a tour, and it's the batting cages or the baseball cards, or
it's a full weight room back there.
Oh, it is. It is. It's got a little bit of everything. And we have our brand pillars, and we're talking about dynamic and innovative and inclusive and what we stand for. People appreciate that. And, there are people who've actually, broken down crying on a tour and seen these amazing artifacts of our history. So it means a lot, and I think it's a good showcase of what we're going to do in the new ballpark.
I don't know if you can tell me numbers or specifics, but every time I hear about the A's as a franchise in the front office, you're hiring more people. How much have you added since you came here? It seems like a lot.
It is. It's probably on the order of 50 to 60 additional headcount, people on the business side. We've also, David and Billy have added people on the sporting side, on the baseball side as well. So on both sides of the business, we're investing in our product. We're making sure that we have a great fan experience. We're making sure that we can sell this new ballpark and develop it in a successful way. And we're making sure that we can have the best players on the field as possible.
Culture seems so important. I know that this office is a huge part of that. You said a long time ago when everybody was moving in here, and like you just said, you're almost competing against Silicon Valley to bring in the best, most talented people. Is it really like that? I mean, you would think there are tons of people that want to work for a Major League Baseball franchise, but you have to be very selective in the kind of people that you're bringing in here.
I mean, always people want to work in baseball, but you want to attract the best of the best. This is a really challenging marketplace. There's a lot of competition. You want people here not only driven, but are at the top of their game. It's like building an elite team on the field. And we're doing that here with our front office. And this environment, the culture of basically hiring people, trusting them, and giving them space to even make mistakes and fail and not get all over them when that happens, but encourage them to try again. That's the type of culture we want here with the A's. We've established that, myself, our COO, Chris Giles, and I think it's somewhere that people want to work, and we hope to continue that for many years to come.
Speaking of Chris, we saw him go undercover the other day, talking about the new membership program for tickets. He seems like a good guy to go have beers with.
He's a great guy. I've known Chris for years. He's fantastic, and we worked together when he was with the Niners.
You guys are very in tandem, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And we promoted a lot of huge soccer events at Levi Stadium that were super successful, and through that process really felt that if we could work together someday and really advance a project together, it'd be awesome, and here we are together.
As for the job you do on a daily basis, I have a perception, everybody watching this has a perception. How close do you think our perceptions are to what you're actually doing?
Well, there's no typical day.
Okay.
So it runs the gamut. You know, obviously I'm interacting with a lot of fans. I'm getting a ton of input, whether it's office hours or at the ballpark or just sitting down with a couple casual fans during the game. Or it could be like Monday going to Sacramento and meeting with the governor and assembly members and state senators and working on legislation. So it's everything from government relations to doing interviews like this, media. It runs the full gamut. So you just have to be kind of a jack or Jill of all trades. And, you know, I think it's been good. My experience with the Quakes was similar in terms of like wearing a lot of hats. And you have to have a lot of energy and excitement about what you do. And I do. I have a great passion for what we're doing here in Oakland and the success that we're having.
Seems like you have a grasp on everything going on here. Are your hands on everything? Do you let your people do it? How do you manage?
I'm definitely not a micromanager. You can ask any of my staff. You know, I give people room to really set forth, you know, their plan. But if I feel very strongly about a point of view, like the free game, for instance, I really wanted to do the free game. It was something that people just thought was like, how is that ever going to work? But I felt so strongly I had a vision for it, and it ended up being a huge success. So there are times where I push, as people will tell you, but those are the times I feel that the organization really needs it.
I've got a couple more things here, and then I know we're going to the game later, which is going to be awesome. I'll save some good stuff for out there. But as for the slogan, rooted in Oakland, what was the first time you heard that, and what was your initial reaction to that? Did that just hit a home run for you?
Absolutely. Troy Smith, who runs our marketing department, Catherine Aker, who does communications, they came to me with the concept that, hey, this could be kind of like our flag and what it would mean for Oakland. And when I started, even in my first interview, everyone was asking, are you staying? And I was like, yes, we're committed to Oakland. We're going to build a ballpark in Oakland. And that was so well received and was something that our fans and the community was hungry for. And so I said, we got to put that front and center. And we need to re-emphasize to everyone out there that this is the community. We've been here 50 years. We're going to be here another 50 or 100 years. And so we built everything around that, and it's been a great thing.
Your job from the start here has been, like as you mentioned, planting the flag, changing the culture, turning the ship in a different direction. Isn't it the goal and the dream for you someday that you're just moving the ship forward in the right direction? Like this turning part is all in the past. This is fun. But don't you dream about 10 years from now when you say all that hard work in the late 2010s, look where we are now? How do you see it?
Well, you know, sometimes you're just so narrowly focused on what you're doing day to day that you don't have that kind of altitude or perspective. But I think it's important at times, and if sometimes I'm sitting in the third deck with my daughter and we're keeping score of the game, watching it, and sometimes it's just the two of us up there, it feels, but you know, we're getting more and more fans, which is fantastic. And kind of thinking longer term and thinking about the legacy that this organization has and all the great people, whether it's Wally Haas or Charlie Finley or all the way back to Connie Mack, who've been involved in building the A's, you know, back from 1901. It's great to think that I can be a steward of that for this period of time, really a consequential period in our franchise's history, and we can put it in a direction for more success and more World Series championships. That's what we're gunning for. This community deserves it. We want more. We want to get 10, 11, 12, 13, however it ends up being, because that's really how we measure our success.
We see you all over the place. Television interviews, social media, at games. When and how do you slow down?
Well, I mean, I've always been kind of a high energy guy, so I swim 4 times a week, so maybe I'm not a very fast swimmer, I'm kind of going slow then. I would say that's when I'm the slowest.
That's a hobby. Anything else? How about family time? Do you have to like really carve that out, because
you do?
This is a very addictive job.
Oh, absolutely, and you know, there's something about the team and the energy around it and everything that it brings, and you know, when you're in a role like this, you have to almost like have your family buy into that and make sure that they're a part of it and they come to the games and we have a great experience, and so. That's an important part of it, to make sure that everyone is kind of working together, and that's a lot of fun.
As documented in Moneyball, and as witnessed by yours truly, Billy Beane has an issue watching games to this day, like needs to go work out. I think David Force, the GM, is a little more low key than that. I think
you're right.
How do you do watching games, whether on television or in person? You're the face of the franchise. You can't go out there and lose it. But how do you do watching the highs and lows of any baseball season?
I mean, I'm a fan at heart, and it's like last night when the game was in the 9th inning and we were getting outs, and I was high-fiving people and cheering, and the guy strikes out. I think I yelled, "Sit down" or "Go to your room" or something like that, crazy. And so I still have that in me. I think that's an important thing to remember as an executive, to be a fan.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times executives in our industry or in sports in general, it just becomes so corporate.
Right.
You lose touch with the feeling you have as a fan.
Right.
And I think if I ever do that, that'll be kind of a sad day. And it's important that I keep grounded and I still have that connection. And that's what makes it fun for me. That actually builds the energy and the excitement to do all the more difficult things.
I'm the same as you, and on that note, we're going to stop our questions for here because we're going to go out to the Coliseum. I don't know about you. I'm going to have a beer and ask you a couple more follow-up questions.
Let's do it.
Because I really feel, like you say, that fan experience at the Coliseum is part of not losing touch of what these fans are experiencing. So, out to the Coliseum.
Let's do it.
All right, here we go.